The date is Saturday, February 28th, 2026.
And if you're listening to this right now, you're likely awake when the rest of the world is asleep.
Yeah, or maybe you're commuting. Sitting in that slow-moving metal river of traffic.
Just staring at the brake lights in front of you.
Exactly, staring at those red lights and feeling that, we all know it, that familiar knot in your stomach.
That Sunday night dread.
Right, or the Monday morning panic. It's all the same frequency.
The universal frequency of modern anxiety.
It really is. And usually, this is the part where the hosts of a show will tell you how to optimize your morning routine.
Drink your mushroom coffee.
Right, exactly. Wake up at 4 a.m., take an ice bath, and crush your Q1 deliverables.
But we aren't doing that today.
No, we are definitely not. We aren't here to give you career advice.
Or tell you how to climb the corporate ladder.
Because honestly, the ladder is burning.
And frankly, it's leaning against the wrong wall anyway.
I love that. Leaning against the wrong wall. So what we are doing today in this deep dive is issuing a warning.
A warning from the future.
Well, or rather, a warning about a future that is already bleeding into the present right now.
It is.
We have a stack of sources on the desk today, and they paint a very specific, very, very dark picture.
A heavily researched picture, though.
Oh, absolutely. We've got economic theory from David Graeber. We've got environmental reality checks from the Our Changing Climate material.
We have technical autopsies of the AI boom from cold fusion.
And we have this, it's almost hard to categorize it, this manifesto.
Tap 3.
Tap 3, right. It's a strange document.
It really is.
It reads less like an economic forecast and much more like a ghost story.
Which is exactly where we need to start.
Right. So I want you, the person listening to this right now, I want you to picture the skyline of any major city.
New York, London, Tokyo, Singapore.
Any of them. What do you see?
Glass towers, steel and light.
Right. And when we look at them, we are trained from birth, basically, to think one thing. Success.
Monuments to capitalism.
Hubs of productivity, right. But the Tap 3 source asks us to look a lot closer.
It does. It argues that the skyscraper is not a monument at all.
No, it calls it a vertical cemetery.
A vertical cemetery. That is such a haunting image.
It sticks with you.
It does, because if you strip away the romance of the skyline, the glittering lights at night, it is physically accurate.
How so? Break that down.
Well, you have climate control that essentially seals you in. It's recycled air moving through artificial vents.
You literally can't breathe the outside air.
Right. You have these massive glass windows that don't even open. You can see the weather outside, but you cannot feel the wind.
You're completely disconnected from the biosphere.
Completely.
And
inside, you have thousands of souls trapped in what the text literally calls hollows in the wall.
Hollows in the wall.
Yes.
That's the cubicle.
That's the open plan desk.
And the people inside those hollows, they've signed a contract. And I don't mean the employment offer you sign with HR on your first day.
You mean a deeper psychological contract.
Exactly. One that essentially says, I will sell you 40 years of my life.
I will give you my prime, my energy, my youth.
And in exchange, you give me safety.
But that is the crux of the entire issue we're unpacking today, isn't it?
It is.
That is the contract with the devil that Seneca warned about 2,000 years ago.
And that Tap 3 is warning about today.
Because the safety is a completely manufactured mirage. The contract has been voided.
Voided by who, though?
By the system itself. The source material predicts a great obsolescence arriving by 2028.
And just to ground everyone, since we are sitting here broadcasting in early 2026.
That means we are exactly 2 years away from the event horizon.
2 years? That is nothing.
It's 24 months.
It's 8 fiscal quarters. And yet millions of people are walking into those glass tombs every single morning.
Thinking if they just send enough emails, if they just attend enough Zoom calls, they will be safe.
They are trading their actual freedom for a business card.
It reminds me of the Stoic reality we'll dig into later. We trade autonomy for a paycheck. But when the paycheck is no longer guaranteed, because the structural economics have entirely shifted, what are you left with?
You're left with nothing.
You're left with the realization that you are not an asset to the corporation at all. You are a cost burden.
And costs are meant to be cut.
Precisely.
And that is the absolute mission of this deep dive. We are going to dissect the anatomy of the cage you are currently sitting in.
We aren't just going to sit here and complain about having a boss.
Right, no. We are going to look at the cold structural mechanics of why modern work feels so empty.
We're going to look at what David Graeber called the bullshit job.
We're going to look at the narcotic that keeps you sedated in that job consumerism.
We're going to look at the executioner coming to the job, which is AI.
And finally, we are going to try to find the only actual exit door left, the sovereign individual.
So let's not waste any time. Let's start with the anatomy of the cage.
Let's do it. The bullshit job. Now, this is a term coined by the late anthropologist David Graeber.
Yes, from his source material.
And I want to be very clear right off the bat for anyone listening, he is not using bullshit as a generic insult here.
No, it's a highly technical definition.
Extremely technical. And it is crucial to distinguish a bullshit job from just a shit job.
Okay, lay that out for me.
Yeah.
Because I think most people hear the phrase bullshit job and they immediately think, yeah, my job is hard and my boss is a jerk.
Right, they conflate the two. But no, that's just a bad job. A shit job in Graeber's taxonomy might be very difficult.
It might be low paid.
It might be physically demanding. Think about cleaning sewers or picking vegetables or being a nursing home attendant.
It is hard, often deeply underappreciated work.
But, and this is the absolute key, it is essential.
If the garbage collectors don't show up for work, the city shuts down in, 3 days?
Exactly. If the nurses vanish, people die. There is a fundamental dignity in the necessity of that work.
A bullshit job, however, is almost always white collar.
It usually pays pretty well.
You get dental benefits. You get the nice corner office in the vertical cemetery.
But it is completely pointless.
Pointless how? Define pointless in this context.
Pointless as in, if the job vanished entirely tomorrow, the world would not suffer one bit.
In fact, the world might actually be a slightly better, more efficient place.
And the real tragedy, the dark part, is that the person doing the job knows it.
Think about the psychological violence of that for a second.
Yeah.
You wake up, you put on a suit, you commute an hour in traffic, and you sit at a desk knowing, deep down knowing, that if you just stared blankly at the wall for 8 hours, the net impact on human society would be exactly the same as if you worked your absolute hardest.
It completely destroys the soul. Humans have a fundamental biological need to be useful.
To have agency.
Right. When you are paid to do literally nothing, or worse, to do something you know is fake, you are living a lie.
Graeber actually breaks this down into 5 categories, the 5 categories of the damned.
And I think it's really worth going through them in detail right now because I guarantee every single listener is going to identify themselves or someone they know in this list.
Oh, absolutely. Let's run the diagnostic. First up, we have the flunkies.
The flunkies. Okay. They exist solely to make someone else look important.
Like a feudal lord having a massive retinue of servants just to show the neighboring lord that he's rich.
Precisely like that. In the corporate world, think of a receptionist for a company that never actually gets any foot traffic.
Or a doorman for a building with automatic doors.
Right. Why are they there? They are there to signal status for their boss. It's a statement. I am important because I have people waiting on me.
It's human furniture.
It really is human furniture. It's status signaling using human capital.
Okay.
The job isn't to actually do anything. The job is to just be there so the executive feels like an executive.
Okay, so that's the flunky. Next category, the goons.
This one is darker. Goons are people in highly aggressive roles that only exist because other companies have them.
Give me a concrete example.
Corporate lawyers are the prime example here.
Or telemarketers.
Lobbyists, PR attack dogs.
You called them soldiers in a war no one wants before we started recording.
Yeah, that's exactly how I view them. Think about the logic. If Company A hires a top-tier cutthroat legal team to sue Company B, well, Company B now has to hire a top-tier legal team just to defend themselves.
They completely cancel each other out.
Right. If everyone just agreed to stop these jobs, would vanish instantly and the world would undeniably be better off.
But because we have built a system of pure aggression, we need the goons. It's basically an arms race of annoyance.
Telemarketers are exactly the same. Literally no one wants to receive the call.
And the telemarketer hates making the call.
But the system somehow demands the friction.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, then you have the third category, the duct tapers.
Ah, the duct tapers. These are the poor souls hired to fix problems that frankly shouldn't exist in the first place.
This one resonates with me. I feel like I have definitely been a duct taper in my career.
Many of us have. A duct taper is the person hired to manually patch a hole in the ship, simply because the captain outright refuses to fix the hull.
So like coders constantly fixing bad legacy software?
Yes, but even more mundane than that, honestly. Think of the administrative assistant whose entire 40-hour week consists of manually transferring data from one incompatible computer system to another.
Because management refuses to pay to upgrade the software.
Exactly. They are human middleware. They are literally doing the work of a script.
And they know it. They know a simple Python script could replace them by Tuesday. but the company won't approve the budget for the upgrade.
So they sit there copy-pasting day after miserable day.
That is the very definition of spiritual rot, knowing you are merely a placeholder for a glitch.
All right, fourth category. We have the box tickers.
The bureaucracy of pretense.
Yes, these are the people writing reports that literally no one ever reads.
Filling out massive compliance forms that act as a legal shield so the organization can point to them and claim it's doing something.
This feels very much like government work or heavy corporate compliance.
It's everywhere. It's the internal fact-finding commission that spends 6 months investigating a workplace issue, produces the 300-page PDF, files it on a hidden server, and nothing changes.
Because the production of the report was the actual goal, not the solution to the problem.
The box was ticked. The job is done.
And finally, the fifth category, the taskmasters.
Middle management.
Specifically, the kind of middle management that assigns work to people who absolutely do not need supervision.
Or even worse, the kind that completely invents bullshit tasks just to keep their subordinates looking busy.
Right, because if the subordinates aren't busy, the manager looks like they aren't managing.
And if the manager isn't managing, why on earth are they on the payroll?
So they invent reports, they invent new metrics.
They invent meetings. Let's have a quick sync to prepare for the pre-sync before the actual client meeting.
Oh, I have lived that exact life. The meeting about the meeting. It's a snake eating its own tail.
And what's truly fascinating from our sources is that this phenomenon isn't limited to just the corporate world. We have historical evidence that this infects the absolute highest levels of government.
Right, and before we get into this specific example, I want to make something very clear to the listener.
Yes, good point.
We are about to reference the Trump administration based on the Graeber source material. We are not taking a political side, left or right. We are strictly impartially reporting on the structural examples provided in the text.
Exactly. We are looking at the mechanics of the administration as a case study in bullshit jobs.
Right, so the source points out how appointments were often made based strictly on loyalty rather than actual functional expertise.
That is the textbook definition of a flunky.
Or look at the portfolio assigned to someone like Jared Kushner during that time. According to the source, he was tasked with Middle East peace, the opioid crisis, and the COVID-19 supply chain response all at the same time.
Which is functionally impossible. One single human being cannot be a structural expert in geopolitics, public health, and global logistics simultaneously.
Right, so the role itself wasn't functional.
It was a taskmaster role, designed entirely to project power and loyalty.
It proves that the rot is systemic. Whether it is a Fortune 500 corporation or a federal government, we constantly create these massive structures of submission.
And the psychological toll this takes on the individual. Graeber calls it spiritual violence.
But we stay. That's the part that keeps me up at night.
It's the big question.
If it is torture, if it is a literal cage, why do we stay inside it?
Because we are heavily sedated.
The narcotic. This perfectly brings us to the source material from our changing climate.
We stay because we need the money.
But we don't just need money for food and shelter, do we?
No, definitely not. If it were strictly about food and shelter, we could all probably work 15 hours a week.
John Maynard Keynes actually predicted exactly that back in the 1930s. He thought by now, with all our technology, we'd all be working 2 days a week.
Keynes was a brilliant economist,
Yeah.
but he missed one massive variable.
What did he miss?
He missed the invention of hyper-aggressive modern consumerism. He missed the fact that we would invent entirely new psychological needs.
We are drowning in stuff. The source puts it so vividly. We cram our closets, we cram our garages, we rent off-site storage units.
The self-storage industry in America alone is a multi-billion-dollar monument to our sheer excess.
But why? Why do we buy it all?
Because advertising constantly tells us to. But it's much deeper than just seeing a commercial. The source material argues that advertising doesn't just sell a physical product.
It sells a version of you.
Exactly. They aren't selling you a pair of headphones. They are selling you the concept of coolness.
They aren't selling a truck, they are selling rugged adventure.
The quote from the source is, they are selling love with headphones. They are selling smiles with khakis.
The underlying implication of every single ad is you are currently broken. You are incomplete.
But if you just buy this one thing, you will finally become the person you desperately want to be.
But you can never actually become that person through a financial transaction. It's a treadmill that never stops.
This is a well-documented economic concept known as the Easterlin paradox.
Break that down from the source.
So Richard Easterlin was an economist who looked at the hard data between income levels and self-reported happiness.
And what did he find?
He found that once your basic material needs are met, meaning you have reliable food, safe, shelter, basic security, more money and more consumption do not correlate with any more happiness.
So the happiness curve just goes completely flat.
Completely flat. In the US, depending on the cost of living in your city, once you hit that basic middle-class stability, buying a nicer luxury car adds 0 long-term happiness points to your life.
You just have a much more expensive version of the exact same sadness.
That is exactly it.
So to summarize, we are working these soul-crushing bullshit jobs to earn money, to buy plastic things that do not make us happy, just to impress people we don't even like.
And in the process of doing all that, we're rapidly destroying the biosphere.
Right. And this is where our changing climate source takes a very, very hard turn into the harsh reality of green growth versus degrowth.
This is the part of the deep dive that, frankly, no one wants to hear.
Because we all love the comforting idea of green growth. We think, oh, I'll just buy an electric car, I'll get some solar panels, and everything will be totally fine.
I can keep my exact same massive consumption lifestyle.
Yeah.
I just need to swap out the battery type.
But the source calls that a flat-out lie.
It is a lie. The source points directly to South Korea as a case study. They launched massive national green growth initiatives, billions and billions in green investment.
And what happened to their carbon emissions?
Their emissions went up.
Up, not down. Why?
Because emissions strictly track with GDP. If the economy grows, we fundamentally consume more energy, period. The source argues you cannot magically decouple economic growth from energy consumption on a global scale.
So the only actual mathematical solution, according to the source, is degrowth.
And this is the stark, terrifying reality. For the global north, meaning the US, Europe, the wealthy nations, to actually save the planet from climate collapse, we need to cut our total energy and material consumption by 60 to 95%.
95%. I mean, that isn't just remember to recycle your soda cans.
Yeah.
That is a total civilization level shift.
The source is careful to say it doesn't mean we all go back to living in literal caves.
Right.
But it does mean returning to roughly a 1960s level of personal consumption.
Which means what, practically?
Much smaller homes. Absolutely no fast fashion. No flying across the world for a quick weekend vacation.
It means a life centered on local community and being rather than constantly having. Okay, a 1960s lifestyle might sound vaguely idyllic to some people listening, but here's the massive structural problem. Under our current global economic system, under capitalism, what does no growth actually mean?
It means a catastrophic recession.
It means total economic collapse. It means the poorest people suffer immensely. That is the trap we are in.
We have built a machine that must constantly grow just to survive. But if it keeps growing, the planet we live on dies.
So we are completely deadlocked, trapped in the office, addicted to the paycheck, to fuel the mindless consumption that is literally killing the world. And we are absolutely terrified to stop, because if we stop, the economy crashes.
It feels like an unsolvable deadlock.
It really does.
But there is something coming over the horizon that is going to violently break that deadlock, whether we are ready for it or not.
The executioner.
Artificial intelligence.
This is where we need to heavily rely on the cold fusion source material and the TAP3 manifesto, because there is a very dangerous, very polarized narrative right now about AI.
The narrative is entirely split. One side of the internet says AI is a god. It will fix every single human problem.
And the other side says AI is a massive financial bubble. It constantly hallucinates. It's basically stupid.
And the truly scary part we found in the research.
Both sides are kind of true.
Exactly. Let's look at the actual failure rate first. The Cold Fusion report cites a massive MIT study showing that 95% of enterprise AI pilots entirely fail to generate any real business value.
95% failure. That is an abysmal metric. If a traditional car company had a 95% engine failure rate, they would be bankrupt in a single week.
It's what the industry calls the drunk intern problem. AI routinely makes up about 10% of its facts out of thin air.
Right. You have the Taco Bell drive-thru AI completely messing up basic orders.
You have McDonald's outright scrapping their automated ordering program after it failed.
You have medical scheduling software confusing the doctor's name with the patient's symptoms.
And yet, despite all of this failure, you have the ghost GDP phenomenon.
Okay, explain ghost GDP for the listeners, because that specific term from the sources is crucial to understand what's happening right now.
So ghost GDP is this macroeconomic idea that tech companies are currently spending billions and billions of dollars on raw hardware.
Specifically, the NVIDIA H100 chips.
Exactly. They are hoarding these chips to build future AI capacity. Now all that massive corporate spending shows up in the national GDP numbers. It artificially looks like huge economic growth.
But it's not actually producing any tangible end product yet. It's like a bakery buying 1,000 industrial ovens, but never actually baking a single loaf of bread.
That's a great metaphor. It's a massive financial bubble of pure potential, not actual production.
And here is where the story gets really, really dark. The failure of the AI technology to work perfectly is not stopping the human layoffs.
Right. This is the ultimate paradox. The tech isn't working perfectly, but the human beings are getting fired anyway. Look at the Klarna example from the source.
The Klarna example is genuinely terrifying. Break that down.
So Klarna, the payment company, they froze all human hiring and actively reduced their total headcount from 3,800 down to 2,000 people.
A massive cut.
And they publicly claim their new AI chatbot currently does the work of 700 full-time customer service agents.
Now, they also admit on the record that their customer satisfaction scores dropped.
Right, so the actual product got objectively worse. The customers are noticeably unhappier.
Yes. But did they rehire the human workers to fix it?
No, they absolutely did not.
That is the chilling realization. In the cold eyes of the corporate shareholder, a very cheap, imperfect AI is infinitely better than an expensive, highly competent human being.
We are rapidly moving from being seen as corporate assets to being seen purely as cost burdens. That is the exact phrase from the TAP 3 prediction.
Exactly. The TAP 3 source specifically warns of the great obsolescence arriving in 2028. It forcefully argues that the white-collar call is inevitable.
Why? Because the modern office, as we discussed, is a structure of submission, and companies are suddenly realizing they don't actually need the psychological submission anymore.
They just need the raw data output.
Think back to the goons we talked about earlier from Graeber's list. An LLM can scan a massive legal contract for hidden loopholes in 3 seconds.
It can write an aggressive cease and desist letter in literal milliseconds.
Think about the box tickers. AI is the absolute ultimate box ticker. It can generate perfectly formatted, compliant corporate reports faster than any human typing on a keyboard ever could.
And here is the dark irony of the whole situation. The fake work identified by Graeber, the bullshit jobs we just laughed about, those will naturally be the very first to go.
But because our entire modern economy is specifically built on paying people to do those exact jobs to distribute wealth to the middle class.
Removing them causes the entire economic Jenga tower to collapse.
So in 2028, you have a towering glass skyscraper that is completely empty. The server racks are humming quietly in the basement, running the entire company.
And the thousands of humans are just gone. Where do they go?
That is the big question.
Yeah.
And right now, most people are desperately looking for the wrong exit door.
They see the building is on fire and they're sprinting toward a door that is just painted on the concrete wall.
Let's talk about those false exits. Because I see this specific trap all over my social media feed every single day.
Oh, the hustle culture trap. Quit your job. Join the gig economy.
Be your own boss. Drive for Uber. Start a dropshipping store.
The Cole Hastings source completely dismantles this narrative beautifully. The gig economy is a brutal trap.
It's not freedom at all. It is pure survival mode.
The statistics he provides are honestly horrifying. 19% of gig workers go hungry, meaning they are actively food insecure.
30% of them rely heavily on SNAP benefits, which is food stamps.
You are basically trading a human boss you can reason with for a cold algorithm that can deactivate your entire livelihood with zero notice and no appeal.
And you have absolute zero safety net. No healthcare, no retirement matching. You are just a disposable digital node in a network.
But then you look online and you have these influencers. The guys standing in front of rented Lamborghinis telling you to buy their $900 online course on how to escape the matrix.
That is classic survivorship bias.
Yeah.
Social media algorithms aggressively show you the 1% of people who actually made it big.
And it intentionally hides the 99% who are grinding 80 hours a week, making less than $15,000 a year.
It is what the source calls a hustle scam. These influencers aren't selling you a real business model. They are just directly monetizing your economic desperation.
It's just another form of the cage. Instead of a comfortable 9-to-5 cage, it's a terrifying 2004-to-7 cage, where you are constantly anxious about where your next gig is coming from.
You never truly clock off.
And this constant anxiety, this grinding desperation, it makes us incredibly susceptible to what the CGP gray source material calls the anger virus.
This is such a crucial psychological concept for the listener to grasp. Thought germs.
Explain thought germs.
Ideas behave exactly like biological viruses. They fundamentally need a human host to reproduce and spread.
And what's the best way for a thought germ to spread?
The most effective carrier for a thought germ is anger. Anger bypasses our critical thinking and forces us to share the idea.
Think about them, and the remote workers get equally angry at the control freak micromanaging bosses trying to steal their time.
So they aggressively share memes, mocking each other. They write furious think pieces. They argue endlessly in the comments section.
And the social media algorithm absolutely loves it.
Right, engagement goes through the roof, ad revenue skyrockets.
The algorithm feeds the virus. But notice what is actually happening to you, the user. You aren't actually solving your employment problem. You aren't escaping the corporate cage.
You are literally just standing inside the cage, screaming at the metal bars.
The anger is a carefully designed distraction. It entirely consumes your mental energy, so you don't have enough bandwidth left to actually sit down and plot a real escape.
Exactly. If your grand rebellion against the modern working world is just sharing an angry, sarcastic post on LinkedIn or Twitter, you haven't rebelled at all.
You've just infected yourself with a thought germ.
You are heating up the room with your anger, but you aren't opening the door to leave.
So let's review where we are. We have the physical cage, which is the bullshit job. We have the heavy addiction, which is consumerism.
We have the executioner arriving in 2028, which is AI.
And the obvious side door, the gig economy, is a total trap. So is there a real way out? Or are we just mathematically doomed?
There is a way out,
Yeah.
but it requires a massive fundamental shift in how you view yourself and your place in the world.
It requires a total psychological break from the system.
We need to go backward to go forward. We need to go back to the Stoics. We need to look at the concept of the sovereign individual.
This is the core solution proposed in tab 3.
And it heavily starts with the philosopher Seneca. He wrote, "The worst slave is the one who lets others determine their time."
Oof. That quote hits incredibly hard. If you are an adult and you have to ask another adult for permission to go to the doctor, you are a slave.
If you have to ask HR for permission to take a Tuesday afternoon off to watch your kid's soccer game, you are fundamentally a slave.
It sounds incredibly harsh to say out loud, but structurally it's true. So what is the solution?
The solution is to actively build what Marcus Aurelius called the Inner Citadel.
Explain the Citadel.
You must build a psychological fortress inside your own mind that the corporation cannot touch.
Yeah.
You have to realize your worth is not tied to your output for them.
But this isn't just about soft mindset shifts or positive thinking, right? This is highly tactical. The source talks specifically about becoming a digital hunter.
Yes, this is the critical shift from being an employee to being a hunter.
What's the difference?
An employee passively waits to be given tasks. An employee waits to be fed by the company. A hunter actively goes out into the wilderness and kills what they eat.
But how do you hunt in a digital economy in 2026? We aren't out there spearing woolly mammoths.
You use the very tool that is currently threatening to destroy you. You use AI.
So this is the classic if you can't beat them, join them moment.
No, it's much more aggressive than that. It's if you can't beat them, we'll wield them as a weapon.
I see.
The concept of the Great Detachment means you immediately stop defining yourself by your corporate job title.
Right, your job title is just a rental.
It literally belongs to the company. If they fire you on a Friday, they take the title back, you are left with nothing.
So you need to own your underlying skills. You need to own your tools.
Exactly. I want you to ask yourself a question. If the company takes your corporate laptop away today, can you still create economic value for someone tomorrow?
If the honest answer to that is no, you are incredibly vulnerable.
The sovereign individual absolutely owns their own capacity to produce.
And the source specifically suggests using AI to essentially clone yourself.
Be the one person who can actually do the work of 10 people by mastering these AI tools. But, and this is the most critical part of the entire strategy, do not do it for the company.
Right. Do not use AI to do 10 times more work for your boss for the exact same salary.
Use AI to do your current work in 1/10 of the time.
And then what do you do with the rest of the week? Go ask your manager for more projects.
Absolutely not. Then you quietly take that time back. You steal back your own life.
Which perfectly connects back to the eco-socialist idea from the Our Changing Climate material we discussed earlier.
The ultimate goal here isn't to work a highly efficient 4-hour work week, just so you can use the other 36 hours to hustle on the side and try to buy a luxury yacht.
The goal is to reclaim your time simply to be a human being again, to completely disconnect from the endless consumption cycle.
If you effectively use the massive efficiency of AI to free up your entire Tuesday afternoon, you could use that afternoon to grow a garden in your backyard.
You can use it to cook a healthy meal from scratch, to repair your own house instead of hiring someone.
And if you do those things, you naturally spend significantly less money.
Exactly. If you actually have free time, you don't need to desperately buy convenience. You don't need to order expensive Uber Eats because you're too exhausted to cook.
You don't need retail therapy on Amazon at midnight to cope with the stress of your commute.
If you don't need to buy the smiles with khakis, you don't need the high-stress, high-paying bullshit job to fund it all.
It creates a beautiful, positive feedback loop. Working less leads to spending less, which structurally allows you to work even less.
It's what the Cole Hastings source calls a hybrid model of living. Maybe you only work part-time freelance.
Maybe you join a local worker cooperative.
Maybe on a macro level, we eventually fight politically for universal basic income.
But until that happens, the individual responsibility is clear. You must detach your core identity from your labor.
You have to stop trying to win the corporate rat race. Stop trying to become the CEO.
Because the CEO is quite literally just a higher-paid prisoner locked in the exact same vertical tomb.
He has nicer glass walls and a better view, but he is still utterly trapped. So the grand strategy for the listener is this. Detach yourself mentally right now. Build your technical skills independently of your employer.
Radically reduce your physical consumption so you aren't held hostage by your own expensive lifestyle.
And aggressively use AI technology to free your time, not just to fill it with more fake work.
Precisely. It's ultimately about becoming completely ungovernable.
Not by breaking physical laws or protesting in the streets.
No, by simply not needing what the system is desperately trying to sell you.
Let's wrap this deep dive up. We have covered a massive amount of ground today. The traditional 9-to-5 job is a dead man walking.
The whole system is visibly glitching.
We see it clearly in the massive AI enterprise failures. We see it deeply in the psychological insanity of Graeber's bullshit jobs.
The corporate facade is actively crumbling. The paint is peeling off the walls of the tomb.
And in 2028, when the TAP 3 prediction actually comes true.
When that glass tower is finally empty. When the great obsolescence hits the middle class.
When the cold HR algorithm finally decides that the ongoing cost of your physical cubicle massively outweighs the value of the emails you send.
Where exactly will you be?
That is the ultimate provocative question for you listening to this right now. You are currently standing at the very foot of a collapsing tower.
You can clearly see the massive cracks in the foundation. You can literally hear the groaning of the steel beams above you.
You can choose to stay inside. You can blindly hope the walls hold up for just one more year, just one more tiny bonus cycle.
You can hopelessly try to hold up the collapsing ceiling with your bare hands.
Or you can choose to walk away. You can step out of the tomb and walk into the wilderness.
It is incredibly scary out there in the wilderness. There is absolutely no HR department to complain to.
There is no steady, bi-weekly paycheck magically appearing in your account. There is no corporate matching 401k.
But there is actual freedom.
And that heavy metal door to the cage you think you are locked in, it's not actually locked.
It never was locked.
You are the only person keeping it shut.
The choice of what to do next is entirely yours.
See you in the underground.